Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Yeah, you know, over the last couple of weeks, months, and even years, I've been talking about Microsoft and their change over to a slow but sure third party. I didn't think they were going to go full third party. If you go and watch the videos back in the day, there was no way I could predicted that outcome, but I did see their focus on Game Pass becoming more of a prevalent thing, and them slowly but surely removing themselves away from hardware, traditional hardware, I should say. I've always believed they were going to come out with some kind of a streaming box. What I didn't expect them to do was to go full third party and start releasing their stuff on other systems. Well, in that same vein, I did mention in those videos and videos in the last couple of weeks as well, that Sony has always just been about a few years behind Microsoft as far as their strategy, right? And of course, nobody believes it. Everybody just drank big old jugs of copium, right? And they said I was wrong. The Xbox fans said I was wrong about the Xbox doing what they're doing. And now they've pretty much come to terms with the fact that Microsoft is a glorified third party and that their next system is going to be pretty much a pre-built PC with Xbox labeling and some sort of a, storefront for Xbox. And then other than that, though, otherwise it would be considered pretty much just a pre-built PC, right? It's just a third-party company. Microsoft is putting their stuff on everything. With that said, I mentioned that Sony was behind them and that they were going to start doing the same thing. And you could see the commencement of that with things like Sony bringing their games over to PC. And of course, Sony ponies and all the Sony fanboys said it's not the same thing, even though this is exactly what Microsoft was saying in their day. The Microsoft fanboys were saying in their day that putting their games on PC wasn't exactly third party. And you can, say, okay, fine, it's not a console. But then slowly but surely, we've got the top 5 games on of the entire year that are selling on PS5 right now are Xbox games. And Sony has taken a look at that. And Sony said, well, damn. It looks like being a platform publisher is more lucrative than locking our stuff to our hardware. And so I've always said that Sony is behind as far as just copying whatever everybody else has been doing. This isn't a brand new thing, by the way, Sony ponies. Sony has always been copying what the others in the industry have been doing, and then they push it forward a generation or two later, and all of a sudden they're being innovative. And we can go back to them being the original CD manufacturer for the Super Nintendo. Their controller was based exactly off of a Super Nintendo. With all they did, instead of having 2 shoulder buttons, let's add 2 more shoulder buttons, and that was the original PlayStation 1 controller. Then the Nintendo 64 controller came out, and it had an analog stick, and they were like, well, instead of 1 analog stick, let's put 2 analog sticks. And the N64 came, and they added the Rumble Pack. Well, instead of 1 Rumble, let's do 2 Rumble motors and call it the DualShock. Oh, okay. So now they're being innovative. Okay, now it's the DualShock. Well, what's the next thing? We're PlayStation 2 era already, and what's Nintendo going to do next? Well, Nintendo then did first-party wireless controllers with the Wavebird. Oh, and motion controls with the Wii. Let's do the PlayStation 3 wireless controller with motion control. But that thing's getting kind of expensive. Let's take the Rumble motors out and say that the 6-axis motion won't work if the Rumble motors are in there. Let's do that. Yeah, let's do that with the PlayStation 3. Everybody remember when the PlayStation 3 6-axis controller didn't come with Rumble, and they said it was because it was going to interfere with the motion? Well, that ended up being total BS, right? Didn't it? And then slowly but surely, let me adjust these lights here. It looks like this thing is getting ridiculous. But slowly but surely, they then moved over. Now they added the Rumble back in because the Wii remote has motion controls, and guess what? It works fine. It works fine with the Rumble. There's no problems with it. Amazing. And then, of course, we got the Sony, the Wii U tablet controller. Looks suspiciously a lot like that PS Portal, if you ask me. It looks exactly like it, actually. And then the Wii U tablet controller, of course, is just a Switch, is an evolution of that. And now the rumored PlayStation hybrid handheld that's going to come out will probably be docked as well. But that's neither here nor there. They've always been behind, is my point. And what are they behind in now? Well, Sony is now officially going to be a third-party publisher, and I put a video up. And Sony has 4 of their former exclusive games currently either out already or slated for Nintendo Switch. And then they dropped the bombshell that Helldivers 2, last year's best game. Let's be honest, it was a huge success. One of the most successful games of the entire year of 2024 is going over to Xbox. When questioned and they asked Arrowhead, hey, was this your guys' doing or was this Sony? Arrowhead Studios said straight up, this is PlayStation's move 100%. We support it. We can't wait to get Helldivers over on the Xbox. Well, the Sony fanboys are full of copium still to this minute. They still do not believe that Sony is going to be a full third-party company, even though we heard the president of Sony himself say that they had a multi-platform ideology and that they wanted to see their games go on multiple platforms. Sony PlayStation's is now Hiroki Totoki. Mr. Hiroki Totoki is the new CEO of PlayStation. Now, why is this important? You would think that it's just going to be business as usual, right? Well, no. Mr. Totoki has a vision, and his vision is a lot like Microsoft's vision. Oh man, this is not good news for you PlayStation fans and you Sony ponies. And why do I say this? Well, let's go through some pull up your nice big cups of copium, because this is what we're going to be doing for you today. And Totoki is looking to improve first-party outings with, you guessed it, multi-platform. Multi-platform is the future for platforms. Sony. Well, last week there was a job posting for a senior president of figuring out how to get PlayStation games onto multiple platforms. And what does it say? Sony is hiring for a new role to bring more games to Nintendo hardware. Oh my God, what's going on? Is Sony becoming a third party? Absolutely they are. And it actually named the platforms that said Xbox, Nintendo Switch 2, Steam, GOG, Epic's Game Store. All of them were mentioned by name. They are hiring an executive to make sure to market PlayStation games on those consoles, essentially turning them into a third party. But no. That wasn't enough. I get comments on my videos, on my shorts, that said that I'm just crazy. It's not enough. Well, today we get the financial earnings report from Sony. And I'm sorry it took so long to get to this, but here we are. Earlier today, Sony announced the quarterly financial results. By the way, they had a pretty good year. They sold a lot of PS5s, even though the real reason is because their software is Xbox softwares. That's really pushing it. They saw monthly active users across PlayStation increasing by 6% in June compared to the same month last year. That's pretty good. Sony also said it had an operating income increased 2.3 times year on year to 148 billion yen, about $1 billion. That's also very good. But that's not enough. Now, Sony is a giant corporation, and they're looking at the bottom line. When they look at their bottom line, where do they see losses? Well, they get you when you buy a controller. That's where Sony makes profit. When you buy software, they make profit. When you buy third-party software, they get a 30% cut of that. And Sony sees profit from those things. Where Sony doesn't see profit is on their hardware. Sony loses money on every PS5 sold, every PS5 Pro sold. So let's say they're selling it for $699. It probably costs them either that price or a little bit more when you count in shipping, manufacturing. So they actually lose money on the hardware. It's a loss leader. Why? Because they're going to make money on the back end with software, PlayStation Plus subscriptions, things like that, right? Controllers, all those accessories, right? That is it's good money. That's high margin. So they make their money back on that end. But Sony doesn't like to lose money, and no corporation likes to lose money. Hell, Nintendo doesn't like to lose money. That's why they're selling you basically a mid to last gen console, because at $450, because that's the price that they can make money on the system sold. You know, it probably costs them $400, you know, or close to that, and then they make a slim margin. Maybe they make $20 per system sold, but they're not losing money on it. Well, what are we looking at here? The most interesting tidbit, at least for gamers, came from the subsequent question and answers with investors, where Sadahiko Hayakawa, Senior Vice President in charge of Finance and IR at Sony, said this: in the gaming business, we are moving away from a hardware-centric business model more to a platform business that expands the community and increases engagement. I'm going to read that back to you slowly for all the Sony fanboys out there. In the gaming business, we are moving away from a hardware-centric business model. Hardware-centric business model. They're moving away from making PlayStations and more to a platform business that expands the community and increases engagement. So no longer is PlayStation really going to start being looked at as a piece of hardware, but more like Netflix or like Game Pass or like Steam or Epic Games. It's a platform where they can sell you games. It's not just a storefront. It's a platform. Now, you're going to try to say, hey, this was. Let me get the cup of copium for you. I'm going to take the first shot of copium for you right here. Cheers. Oh, he's not talking about PlayStation. He's talking about televisions. Sony makes TVs. Oh, he's not talking about PlayStations. He's talking about cameras and what else does Sony make? Radios. Yeah, that hardware. Really? How is that hardware going to be expanded into a platform business model? It's not. The only hardware centric business that can be expanded or turned into more of a platform business model is their PlayStation platform. That's it. That's the only one. There is absolutely no way that they're only talking about TVs. Would they actually make a profit on? They're not talking about their computers. They make a profit on those too. The only hardware that loses Sony money is the PlayStation. You're hearing it straight from the senior vice president's mouth. Last year we heard it straight from the Sony president's mouth himself, confirming that yet again I was right. PlayStation, Sony is just a few years behind Microsoft in their strategy. They are 1,000,000% going to slowly but surely move their games over to all those platforms that they're freaking hiring an executive for. It's not because they want them to just check it out and, oh, cool. No. They're going to be putting games on Nintendo, on Steam, and yeah, on Xbox. They're going to do it, which makes them a third party. It makes you think, well, you know what? If I have a Switch too, and I know that, okay, even if they do like a 1-year exclusive thing where the game comes out on PS5 first, I don't mind waiting a year. I'll get the game on Nintendo when it comes around. Okay, let's do that. What do you guys think? This is available on X, by the way, if you guys want to go check out the full translation. But let's not forget, this aligns right with the discovered job listing for the Senior Director of Multi-Platform and Account Management, which hinted that Sony would bring even more games, not only to PC, but also Xbox and Nintendo platforms too, in an effort to increase PlayStation users, those elusive monthly active users. Yeah, they're gonna get you to sign up to a PlayStation account and say, "Oh, those are our guys." But you're gonna be playing on Nintendo. You're gonna be playing on Xbox. And what's the point of exclusives at that point? There is none. It's going to be a battle of pre-built PCs at that point. And once again, I will go on record to say the winner of the console wars all these years later is the only one that's still making first-party exclusives on their system, and that is Nintendo. Nintendo continues to be the only company that you cannot get Mario on anything other than a Nintendo platform. Sure, there are a couple of spin-off games or light apps on mobile devices, and these are definitely not full-fledged games or flagship games. And there's definitely nothing on PC, nothing on PlayStation, nothing on Xbox. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Channel's trying to grow. We got a lot of movement over on the shorts side of things, but it'd be cool if you guys check out the videos that this comes from. They are linked in the comments. Not maybe the comments, but they are linked below the shorts videos if you are watching this on shorts. I want to thank you guys for joining me here at the channel. Like always, I value all you guys. I appreciate you being here. And any new subscribers, want to thank you. Leave a comment, let us know you're a new subscriber. And if you don't agree, hey man, leave a dislike and let me know why. Let me know why you think I'm wrong, and let me know what you think that Senior Vice President in charge of finance over at Sony, what did he mean when he said that they are moving away from hardware-centric business model and more to a platform business model. As always, I want to thank you guys for joining us here. My name's Anthony, and I'll check you guys in the next video.